It's recording. Here we go.
Please take your seats. School is now in session.
Welcome to Homeschooled Podcast.
Homeschool.
The Homeschool Podcast. Why? Because he was homeschooled.
It's time to document the journey.
Welcome back to Homeschool Podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It's just me, Agostino Zoida. I'm the host of the Homeschool Podcast. I'm here alone. I have no co-host. I have no guest today. And for those of you that have been a fan of the show for a while, thank you for following. And you know when I do these, I keep it short and sweet. And it's just me and then a little solo video. We're just going to talk about some stuff. And it's a perfect way to end the week. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed the last couple of episodes. We had the bonus episode New Year's Day with Lee Sayat. You can go back and check that out. And then we had Michael Klein, who is the new producer of Joey Diaz's new podcast called Uncle Joey's Joint. And then Lee, obviously, being the co-host and producer of the Church What's Happening Now. So we had those two guys on. I hope you really enjoyed those episodes. And we're going to close this week out with this solo episode. And like I said, short and sweet. I won't take too much of your time, but we're going to get into some shit that I want to talk about, you should want to hear about, and people should be talking about it, okay? So before we get into it, I'm going to read to you guys, not an ad, I'm going to read to you guys Webster's Dictionary's definition of the word granted. Now, I know you're not an idiot. I know you know what the word granted means. It means a lot of different things. You can use it in different ways. What do you got here? You got a couple one that to consent to carry out for a person, like granted permission, like you're allowed to do something, granted a visa, passport, allowed to go into the country. But what I'm talking about, and another one that I know I'm not saying that you guys don't know what this means, taken for granted, or to take something for granted. And why does that word come from granted, as in giving permission to do something, to enter the country, whatever, okay? So where does that term taken for granted come from? And we'll talk about it right now. And here's the definition that I'm talking about. As I said, there's like 6 definitions for the word. You can use it in different ways, but this is the one that we're going to read. And I just want you guys to hear the words: to permit as a right, privilege, or favor. Okay, so we just talked about granted access, granted this and that. That's where that comes from, taking things for granted. To permit, right, privilege, or favor, okay? Maybe somebody gave you something as a favor. Maybe it's your privilege, you were born into it. Like coming into money, that money's yours, you're privileged to it. That's where the word privilege comes from. To permit, allow, come in. So basically, the word or the phrase take for granted, you're taking all of that for granted. You're assuming it's your privilege. You're assuming it's your right. You're assuming that people that do these favors for you owe it to you. Why would you do that? Because maybe they've always given you favors, or maybe you've always had handouts, or maybe you had a lot given to you. And listen, I know all of you guys ain't privileged, like some people. Like me, I'm not. I wasn't born into privilege. I know you guys aren't like that. And even if you are, you need to hear this too. But you know what? What I'm saying is, I know you guys are not like that, but everybody, and I do mean everybody, people that wouldn't be considered privileged, people that were born into poverty, everybody at one point or another is given something that they assume they deserve it because they've been getting it this whole time. They've been having the favors this whole time. They've been getting it for free, maybe, that you assume that you're entitled to it. You're not entitled to anything, not even the air in your lungs that keeps you alive. that is a blessing. Everything that you have is a blessing, but it doesn't matter who you are. There's a homeless guy sleeping under the freeway right now. There's something that he takes for granted. Okay? Then we're going to read, hang on a second. I know you guys talk, bro, I didn't fucking tune into your podcast to fucking have you read me shit I already fucking know. But listen, guys, we're going to talk about it. Here's what Wikipedia says. Granted, as an adjective, means given, and it is usually followed by take or taken. Okay? Given meaning like I'm giving something to you, but also meaning like that's a given. You know when somebody says something obvious, you go, yeah, that's a given. Like we already know that. You're assuming it. That comes from the word given for a reason, because someone gave you something. This is you taking advantage of things, all right? It's usually followed by the word taken for or take for or taken for. If you take someone for granted, you count on that person, but you may not always show your appreciation. If someone accuses you for taking them for granted, you should respond negatively and say something like, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, that's some Wikipedia shit there. I don't know how you're going to respond, but I think if somebody calls you out on not taking them for granted, you should maybe not necessarily respond negatively, but you should always reflect on it. You know, a lot of times you get in arguments with people, they say something that you don't agree with. Like maybe you're in a relationship and somebody says, you take me for granted, and you don't think that's true. So everybody's instinct is to right away go and argue that. Listen, the point of someone calling you out and taking them for granted, it's not about how you feel. It's about how they feel. So if somebody comes up to you and says, you're taking me for granted, and you go like, I disagree. Well, you disagreeing is how you feel. But they brought this up for a reason. So it's not how they feel. So I don't think you should ever respond negatively. You respond with, let me reflect on this for a second. I don't think I take it for granted, but maybe I'm not showing that I don't. Maybe that's not addressing. So whatever it is, maybe it's a relationship, you know, with your partner or your parents or your kids, whatever. Your boss, your job, that's another thing. You work at a job so long, you hate it, and you know, you don't like doing it, and they don't pay you enough, but you do it so long that it becomes like they owe you, you know. They don't owe you. Obviously, you work, they owe you money. Nobody owes you offering you the work. No one owes you anything. And I'm not saying this to get anybody down or talk about depression or anything like that. I'm saying this, why? So that everybody can reflect on appreciation. It's time to appreciate everything. And you know what? Sometimes the bad things too, you got to appreciate. How many times has a bad thing turned into a good thing later after you stuck it out for a while? Appreciate everything. And I'm bringing this up not to talk about relationships. I'm bringing this up to talk about my position as a stand-up comic. As you know, I've been feeling really down. I've been feeling a little, I don't know what the word you want to use, depressed, lost. I'm just losing my mind over not being able to go on stage. And I have all these different outlets and projects I'm taking on. I'm trying to find ways to be creative, but nothing has replaced this hole of my first love that I can't do anymore. And I know I've talked about it for a couple of weeks now, but that's why I'm bringing up taking things for granted. So last night, I was able to go up on stage. And guys, I haven't been on stage since Philadelphia, and I don't even know when that was. It was like the beginning of November. So it's been almost 2 months since I've been on stage, which that's like I don't know what an example to use. What's so funny about stand-up comedy is like the only examples that my brain went to right away was like an addiction. Like that's like, someone who's hooked on heroin not doing it for too long. Like, but that's how stand up is. That's the first thing my brain went to. But some more positive things. It's just like, in a way, to some people, it's like you haven't eaten in 2 months. It's like your soul's not being fed. It's like, some people, they absolutely love fitness or the sport that they play. Like that, some people, they just, they love tennis or whatever it is, and they're just like, if I don't get out there and play tennis, I lose my mind. They love it. They love moving, and then their body doesn't move for a while, so they start to cramp up, and then you get depressed too. So it's like that. And last night, I got to go up on stage, and I feel so appreciative. And I gotta not take things for granted. Also, I'm fortunate for the few gigs I had this year. A lot of people didn't have any. A lot of people, comics or artists, whatever, they got nothing right now. They're just sitting there collecting unemployment. Now, I'm not like most people, and I hope you guys aren't, where you're sitting at home collecting that unemployment, not doing anything at all, watching TV, playing video games, sleeping in, not setting your alarm in the morning and making sure you're getting out of bed as if you got somewhere to go, and doing your things and making new projects to keep you busy and bettering yourself at different things. Like, hopefully you weren't completely just doing nothing. But I'm thankful. I mean, I went to Philly over 2 months ago, and you guys, like I said, it's like my soul wasn't being fed. But you know what? At least I got to go to Philly and do what I did Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, fucking 5 shows. Comics would kill for that one weekend this year, but I actually did more than that. I did a couple of gigs. I did Arizona. I did a few. Okay, I was fortunate, but. Being on stage last night has reminded me of something that I already knew, is that, you take things for granted. And listen, see, I already knew that I do. Everybody does. And you know that you do. And you'll tell yourself not to do it, but you can't help it. It's human nature, okay? You're going to take things for granted. I don't care who you are. But, being on stage last night, it was incredible. And I appreciate everything I've had. I did a couple backyard shows, and I got to, interact with audiences, and it's just, I mean, even when I did that, Laugh Lounge thing where I was performing in the studio in front of cameras, I can see the people on their TVs and stuff like that was. I'm lucky to have that. Not every comic was able to do that. I got paid. I had fun talking with people. I got to perform, and it was great. And I'll tell you what, I will try to not take things for granted anymore. I know it's going to be hard. I know I'm going to do it, and you just got to try and stop yourself, because you got to appreciate every little thing that you have. It's you're privileged. It's not a favor. It's not your right. It's not nothing that you're not born and all this shit comes with it. I know that artists need to hear this too. You were born with talent, but that doesn't mean you're granted to have eyes on your art. It doesn't come with an audience. Talent doesn't come with an audience. You have to do all that work yourself. You got to work hard at it. Not only do you have to work hard at bettering yourself and getting better at whatever talent you're into, but now you got to find a way to have people find you. The whole point of being an artist is for someone to see your work, hear it, touch it, whatever it is that you do. And nobody can ever take away the talent. If you're a painter, if you're a musician, you can sit at home with your stay-at-home orders and you can do that. But nothing replaces the live audience, the live performance, or someone coming out to your little, boutique and looking at the paintings that you painted. Or, nothing replaces it. You could take a picture, you could put it online, you can get those likes, but you got the same amount of likes from the picture that you posted of, your food yesterday. Or your hike, you get the same amount of likes. I mean, social media only goes so far. It's just people looking at shit likes. Are you sometimes people really do appreciate, and they stop and they look at your art and it moves them, and they look at it and they appreciate it. But most of these people likes. There's nothing like the live audience, and we should take nothing for granted ever. And that's the message of this podcast. I will continue, but just really quickly, I would like everybody to please do me a favor and head over to homeschooledpod.com. Not podcast, but homeschooledpod.com. And please support our show by a couple of ways. You can click on sponsors, and you'll see all the sponsors that sponsor our podcast. If you click those banners, whatever products and services you think you would use, that helps us out. You can click on you can click on podcast, and you will see all the links for this podcast, including YouTube, and please go subscribe there. That helps us out too. And these are all ways to support the show without spending any money of your own. Times are tough, I know. You can also click on merch. And if you want to support the show, we would love you to pick up a t-shirt. We got great sweatshirts. We got all the homeschool logos. If you click on accessories, I got masks and neck gaiters and mugs and stickers. So all that stuff is super helpful. And if you really can, you can also download my album. That's the way to do that. So I would really appreciate it. Everything is at homeschooledpod.com. Home. Schooled, past tense with an ed at the end of it, and then pod, homeschooledpod.com. And you can also click on contact, and then you can just go ahead and shoot me an email, and I get back to those as soon as I possibly can. If you guys want to talk, you want to ask me a question, you want to make a suggestion, you want to tell me to go fuck myself, whatever you want to do, I'm there, I'll read them, I respond. All right? So let me get back to my point here, is that, take a little sip of my whiskey I'm drinking. So last night, by the way, I'm still in Los Angeles, which is a comedy here is unheard of right now. So I had heard about an underground secret comedy show. Okay. Now, half of you are sitting there looking at me going like, you're one of those super spreaders. That's where fucking virus spreads. If you're one of those, fine, you're one of those. The other half are looking at me going like, all right, we don't give a shit. Move on with your story. But I'll tell you that I had to make a decision, you guys. I had, if anybody mad at me for going out to a secret underground comedy show, first of all, it was a wide open space, and no one was sitting next to each other, and it wasn't sold out, because the problem with a secret show is not a lot of people hear about it. So it's not like there's a lot of people in there anyway. We're talking about like 25 guests heavily spread out into different sections of the room. So, and then also, let me tell you guys something. I had to make a judgment call. Should I risk, I don't know, what is it? What's the chance of me getting COVID? Maybe a 50-50 chance if I go in a room like that. Really, statistically, it's really like 90% chance I won't get it. But, or do I risk 100% of my mental stability? Okay, so I made a judgment call. I go do the show. Now, some of you guys may think, well, when you go out like that, it's not only yourself you're putting at risk, so you made that judgment call for other people too. Fair enough. But to those of you, I will tell you that everybody else there made the judgment call to take the risk. Otherwise, they wouldn't be out. They also risked themselves. That's why they're out. That's why people need to be able to make their own choices for their life. And if you got a mother or an elderly person, a grandmother, a grandfather in your life that you live with or that you see often or that you take care of, so you got to go check on them every now and then, you should stay home. Wear the fucking mask, stay home, sanitize your fucking hands. But that's your responsibility. The world doesn't need to shut down and all have a fucking mental crisis and meltdown, okay? The world doesn't need to fucking lose everything that they have because you couldn't be responsible for your grandmother, all right? You stay home. And if I'm going to go out and do some fucking comedy so I don't lose my mind, then I just won't go see my parents for 2 weeks. And I'll hang out at home. I don't go nowhere anywhere. You can't go do dick. If you're going to go out and you're going to go do comedy or you're going to be in a public place like that, that's got to be the only thing that you do. Can you afford to do something like that every single day right now with no income? No. That's got to be the only thing that you do for 2 weeks. You're gonna do one event, and then you're gonna go home and back home, and you're gonna stay home. And that little thing just kept you a little bit more sane to survive this bullshit for fucking 2 more weeks. Okay? Whatever fucking happened to my body, my choice. I decided to go out and take that risk, and everybody there decided that they were gonna take that risk too. They made the decision themselves. That was their choice. Okay? Sorry, I go on rants sometimes. All right? You don't think that, being open as a business is a risk in itself for the fucking owner of the business? They know the risk that they're taking. If they decide to fucking take that risk, that's on them. It's your fucking choice, man. So, to talk about the data, dude, at LA, you guys, California, there's nothing open. It's nothing open. Most restaurants aren't even open for takeout because they just probably not doing enough business with takeout to justify staying open. But so right now you got most places doing takeout. You got nothing. You can't go out anywhere. We were closed for 3 weeks. The fucking Governor Newsom comes back on and goes, you know how I said we were going to be closed for 3 weeks because the spike in the numbers and the hospitals are still packed? Yeah, well, we're going to just go ahead and extend that indefinitely. Well, it's like, well, dude, for 3 weeks and your hospitals are still fucking packed, maybe it wasn't the fucking restaurants that were doing it. And not only that, they come on and they tell you, oh, the data, we're doing lockdowns because the data tells us it's not time to open yet because of the numbers of COVID. You guys, there's other data to consider. I gotcha. The COVID numbers are high. But what about the other data? Are you taking a poll on homeless? Have you done any data search on businesses that went under in these last couple of months? What about that data? Have you checked on suicide numbers? Have you checked on fucking, people's mental health? Have you checked on divorces? Have you checked on people fucking checking themselves into Alcoholics Anonymous and shit? This is all data too. We can't just close our eyes on it and focus on the one fucking COVID data. Your solution cannot be worse than your problem. There's other data to consider. All right, I'm done with my fucking rant. Where was I? All right. So, I go out to the comedy show. I'm grateful. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't think I was going to go up. I heard of an underground secret comedy show. And I go, you know what? Even if I don't go up, I just want to be around it. I don't even know these comics. It's like people that I don't hang with. Most of them I never even heard their names before. I just knew I probably wasn't going to go up. I was going to go down there. I was going to watch comedy. I was going to watch people try shit out and bomb. I was going to watch people kill. All that shit I miss, okay? So I go down there and, I go in. The guys that are running the show, they know me. They recognized me when I came in, I guess, and they go like, hey, we'll get you up a little bit later. I'm like, I'm fine. That's fine. Perfect. I don't even care if I go last for 30 seconds. I just want it. I get up on that stage. That's a blessing. So I waited around. I watched everything. It was a lot of fun. And I'll tell you guys what I missed the most. Maybe not the most, but it's definitely up there. One thing that I really, really miss is obviously the stage, but the fact that I used to be able to think of something that day or have something happen to me that day, and I would go like, that would be a great bit or a good story. I want to get on stage tonight and test the waters and see if there's anything here. See if this has legs. Could I make it into a story or a bit one day? I used to be able to just go out and listen, guys. Again, taking that for granted. Not only am I taking for granted that I could have gone out anywhere when I used to be able to go out. Something popped in my head. Oh, that might be funny. Let me try that on stage. I can go out that night, get on stage somewhere. That was like almost a guarantee. I can get on stage somewhere tonight. And I can go up and test it out. That's privilege. That's taking something for granted. That's favors. That's, rights. It isn't your right. It isn't your right. And you know what? I felt like it was because not every comic can do that. In this town especially. Not a lot of comics can walk into... And listen, guys, I'm not trying to boast myself. I'm not saying... Don't get me wrong. I'm not in the level of I could have walked into the Comedy Store and jumped up on stage, any night I wanted to. No. That's not what I'm saying. Although sometimes, depending on who's doing the main room or the belly room, I could, if I knew them and they had room, they would put me on. But if not, I go somewhere else. I'm talking about, there's a bar show, there's a mic, there's a little tiny theater, a little smaller comedy club, that has a patio that they do something on. There was always something. Now, I took that for granted, and I thought that I earned that right, which technically I did. But not a lot of comics can do that in this town. They will go out and they'll try to get up, but they can't. It's something that I've earned by working hard and doing this for fucking 12 years, which is guys that have been doing it way longer than that. But I'm just saying, I'm from Los Angeles. I became a comic in Los Angeles. I grew as a comic in Los Angeles for 12 years. They fucking know me here, okay? And they know what I'm capable of doing. I'm capable of trying out new shit and it doesn't work. And I'm also capable of killing. But they know me. I'm a good performer. It's always going to work out eventually, okay? So I took that for granted that I can come up with oh man, that's a good story. I should go try it on stage. And I haven't been able to do that all year in Los Angeles or in California. I haven't been able to go like, man, I want to go try this, work this thing out. And I just couldn't. And, something happened to me yesterday and the day before. It was like two events that were basically the same story, and I go, that would make a good story. And then when I went out last night, you guys, I got to go up on stage and I got to try out the story, and it had just happened to me like within the last day or two. That was so great. Just good old times, and I appreciated it and I respected it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's other shows I would have rather done, but that's all there was. And I was thankful to get that. And I was thankful for the people that were there that listened. And I went up, they put me on like last. So by the time I got up, there wasn't as many people in the room. But I don't care. Give me one person. Just give me one person, a fucking microphone. At this point, I don't even need that. I don't even need a stage. Just give me one person. I'll fucking stand in front of them, and I'll perform for you. I'm thankful for every single person that comes out to live entertainment. Thankful for every single booker that's ever put me on the stage. I'm thankful for myself. And in the past, I've worked really hard to where I was the person who decided who goes on stage. And I was able to put myself in that position, put myself up, and help out friends and stuff. I'm thankful for all that. I'm thankful for the comic friends that I have, and I'm going to try. I can't make any promises, but I'm going to try really, really hard to never take you guys for granted ever again. Do I want my podcast to be top of the charts? Fuck yeah, why wouldn't I? I fucking become more popular. People want to come see me live, perform live. I can do what I love on stage in front of people and sell tickets all over the world. The more followers, yeah, I can do that. But you know what? If you got one podcast listener, if you got one subscriber on YouTube, if you got 100, you got 1,000 fucking people listening to your podcast every week, it don't matter. I'm thankful for every single one, and I will never take you guys for granted. And that's the message. In your art, your talent, and your family, your relationship with either, partner or a family member, everybody's taking something for granted. Stop. Think about it. Even if you think you don't. And if you don't, then think of how you can show better that you don't. That's it for me, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you had a great week. The first week in New Year's, everybody's talking shit about it. 2021 sucks too. I fucking told you guys, but listen, it don't have to suck. And this week didn't suck. I was productive. I did a lot of things. I did great podcasts. We got some good clips out on Instagram of the podcast. We got the videos out. And maybe it sucks due to the circumstances. And maybe it's out of your control, but you can control right here, here. You control here. You control that. This. It starts right here. Then work your way out. Okay? What you did this week will determine if your week sucked or not. If the month sucked or not. If the year sucked or not. It's up to you. All right? All right, you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe. Who the fuck knows what's going to go down? It ain't over till the fat lady fucking sings. You know what I'm saying? I'm Agostino Zoida. This is Homeschool Podcast. Please subscribe. Please, wherever you're listening to this, subscribe. Keep coming back to support. Tell a friend. Go on our YouTube. We're trying to build it up. We need subscribers on our YouTube. We need views. We need you guys to go watch the videos of these or even some stand-up clips, whatever. I'm putting content out there, and I got even more content on the way. Please do me that favor and keep coming back here to watch us as we have great guests, great conversations. We have a great co-host, Kevin Lyons, is usually here. And I want to thank him for all his hard work. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning into this episode right now. I really appreciate you. And I'll never take you for granted. And keep coming back here where we document the journey. I'm Agostino Zoida. This is Homeschooled Podcast. Don't forget that only love can save the world. Only. Not raiding the fucking Capitol building. Not fucking a riot. Not fucking a parade. None of that shit. You can't fight hate with hate. Only love can save the world. This is Homeschool Podcast. I'll see you guys next time. Homeschool Podcast.
Homeschool.
The Homeschool Podcast. Why? Because he was homeschooled.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I don't want to do that at all.